Hey guys, today we're going to be reviewing Flysurfer's newest kite, the Sonic 3. Actually, it's just the Sonic now, as they've dropped the version numbers from the name of the kite, which kind of makes sense because, after version 1, version 2, version 3, it does start sounding a little weird. For example, can you imagine the 15-meter Sonic 9? There is still a nod though to the model number on the kite itself with the 3 stripes. We should start off by saying that the Sonic is not a replacement for the Soul. The Soul is a great all-around kite with superb performance. The Sonic is an advanced foil wing with even more performance than the Soul. So who's this kite for? Well, if you've never flown a foil kite and you're coming from tube kites, then the Soul is still the way to go. However, if you've flown the Soul before and you're looking for something sportier, then the Sonic is what you're looking for. It's kind of inappropriate to compare the Sonic to the Soul as they are in different categories of kites. It's kind of like comparing an SUV to a sports car. With that said, they both are still kites and both foil kites at that, so for reference we will compare to the Soul throughout the video.
Let's start with a bit of history on the Sonic to understand how it came to be. Flysurfer took 3 different approaches to get the latest version of the Sonic. First, they started with the Sonic 2 and tried to improve it as much as they could. They had some prototypes, there were some improvements, but nothing significant. So that was scrapped, and instead they turned their eye to the Soul. They increased its aspect ratio, fiddled with it, and while again there were some improvements, it was not enough. Finally, they took a Flysurfer VMG, reduced the aspect, rounded the wingtips, and added an extra layer of bridles, and they got something special. Looking back at the Sonic 2, one of the biggest issues with it was launching the kite, as it would not fully inflate and the tips would collapse on both sides.
I'm about to launch the Sonic 3 11 meter. I'm gonna hot launch it on this beach due to the wind direction, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
As you can see with the new Sonic, that problem is gone. Even with zero pre-inflation, the kite inflates on its own without any issue. In fact, in our view, the Sonic inflates just as easily, if not easier, than the Soul. All of this is thanks to brand new internal construction, as the number of air intakes remain the same as the previous version. We even launched Sonics from the back of a catamaran, and it was as easy as the Soul. Obviously, proper technique helps as well. As you can see in this example, Yuri was backstalling the kite on purpose so that it would inflate faster. Also, in higher wind, it is not a bad idea to do a side launch and pre-inflate the kite before bringing it up. With that said, please make sure to consult the manual for more tips on how to launch a foil kite, as it can be quite spot dependent.
The relaunch was surprisingly easy, in no wind, in very little wind anyway. Compared to Soul, I think Soul is easier to relaunch, but this one is not difficult. That's a good thing. Even when the tips collapse, if you keep the tension on the power lines, it tends to inflate. And then the tips were folded for a while. One time it got quite a bit of water, and then it went back up.
Personally, I had no troubles relaunching the kite, and we have countless examples on film. One thing that we noticed is that after relaunching, once in a while the tips would get stuck in the bridles. As we later discovered, the best strategy to get the kite untangled would be to pull in the bar all the way and hold it so the kite backstalls, reinflates, and flies up. Compared to the Soul, we think the Sonic is a little bit harder to relaunch due to the fact that you need to have proper technique in place, while with the Soul, oftentimes pulling one line is sufficient. Our friend Dennis from Belarus conducted back-to-back tests relaunching the Sonic in shallow water, and he was successful 100% of the time. Now, we're not suggesting that the kite would relaunch 100% of the time, as we know stuff happens and situations vary, and even the Soul isn't 100% relaunchable. It's important to make sure you know what to do in those kind of situations. Let's turn our attention to the more technical data about the Sonic before we jump into how it handles on the water. Generally speaking, the higher the aspect ratio, the higher the performance. But believe it or not, the aspect ratio of the Sonic 3 was reduced from the Sonic 2. For example, the 11-meter Sonic 2 has an aspect ratio of 7.25, while the 11-meter Sonic has an aspect ratio of just 6.8. For reference, the 12-meter Soul has an aspect ratio of 5.55. It is worth noting that the aspect ratio of the Sonic does depend on the specific size, as it ranges from 7.2 for the 18-meter to just 6.6 for the 9-meter. All models of the Sonic have 55 cells. That's 6 more than the Sonic 2, by the way. If you're curious, the Soul has 41 cells in larger sizes and 35 cells in smaller sizes. Generally speaking, the more cells a Kite has, the more performance you can get out of it. The con of more cells in a Kite is that the production cost does go up. One thing that the new Sonic kept from the previous version is the doubling number of cells at the trailing edge, which increases stability. Additionally, stiffeners in the leading edge were also kept to prevent canopy deformation.
There are 2 new things added to the Sonic that were taken directly from the Soul, the first being the long mixer test. The second thing is the somewhat secret tuning option called PMA, which is short for Profile Moment Adjustment. We call it a secret because most people aren't aware of PMA. This is a good thing, as changing it can really change the flying characteristics in both good and bad ways. Please don't mess with this yourself unless you're absolutely sure of what you're doing.
Comparing Sonic to Soul, both have nearly identical projected area, 12.53 meters versus 12.44 meters. But given the Sonic's higher aspect ratio, it is over a meter longer than the Soul. Another key difference between the 2 kites is that the Sonic is noticeably thinner than the Soul. Because the Sonic is so thin, the volume of air inside of it is a fraction of the Soul. And for that reason, Flysurfer included only a single deflation valve compared to the 2 on the Soul. Now you may think that 1 deflation opening is not enough and 2 would have been better, but trust us on this one. The Sonic is way easier to pack than the Soul. Anna and I even had a race to see who would pack it up faster to prove a point, but the test went horribly wrong and I won the race. Anyhow, trust us, if you do it properly and carefully, the Sonic still packs way faster than the Soul. Another noticeable difference in the new Sonic compared to the Sonic 2 or Soul is just how thin the bridles are. I understand that the thinner they are, the less drag they create, but it's kind of scary as you can't help but wonder what would happen if they broke. With that being said, they are pretty durable. Our friend Dennis, who is arguably the world's heaviest rider at 171 kilograms, tested the Kite to its max without anything snapping.
By the way, the fabric of the Sonic is exactly the same as the fabric of the Soul.
Now let's talk about the on-the-water performance of the new Sonic. Before we begin with the most important part of this video, we are going to address not one, but a couple of elephants in the room. First is the wind factor. If you're trying to make a judgment of a kite based on just one session, be aware that the wind quality might affect the outcome. Some of the things you've noticed about the kite could be attributed more to the wind conditions than the actual kite. For this reason, we tested the new Sonic in a variety of conditions, ranging from Canadian snowstorms to the tropical climate of the British Virgin Islands. We used twin tips, foil boards, and snowboards to make our final opinions. Secondly, because judging a kite is so subjective, we made sure to demo the kite with our friends and include their unbiased opinions in here as well. One thing we noticed right away about the Sonic is that it does take some time to get used to, especially if you're used to flying Souls or Speed 5s.
It was a bit of an adjustment. You really need to keep the tension in the lines, otherwise the kite could misbehave a little bit, the tips would collapse. But after a half hour of playing around with it, you kind of get a hang of it.
With the Soul, when you pull on one end of the bar, the kite will turn without losing its shape. But with the Sonic, if you turn it, the backline goes slack and the tip would collapse.
Is if you let go of the bar, it needs consistent bar pressure. What I mean by that is, when you're riding this kite, if you let the bar out just to chillax, the kite will deform. It won't stay the proper shape. So it needs bar pressure to maintain its shape.
The good thing is that after a session or two, you do get used to making sure to have tension on both steering lines and the problem goes away for the most part.
Sonic was very different to fly. It's a lot faster how it moves through the air. It turns a lot quicker, and I face planted numerous amount of times because I wasn't expecting it to turn as quick as it did.
It's hard to say if the Sonic turns quicker than the Soul. It definitely flies faster, and its turning radius is a bit larger than the Soul's. We tried to compare both back to back in terms of turning speed, and it looked about the same to us, so you can be the judge. With regards to loops, it appears the Soul has tighter loops than the Sonic.
The loops on Sonic 3 are quite beautiful. I find they're nice and smooth and controlled if you don't adjust the bar. If you have it at a particular setting, if you start depowering and then powering, then there's slack in the lines, then you lose the shape and it's not working. But if you dial it in, if you catch the wind, you've got the tension on the lines, and you just send it around through the loop, it's going to behave beautifully. Even though we have a bit of a shadow down below, it still performs nicely.
Honestly, it took me a few sessions to really warm up and enjoy flying the Sonic.
I do think it jumps higher than the Soul, and I do quite like how fast the kite flies. The first few sessions I did struggle with the wingtips collapsing and tangling in the bridles, but that was mostly due to bad timing on my jumps, which is hard to fault the kite for. At the time though, it was really frustrating and it had me wishing I was on the Soul instead. I had really only had a little bit of experience with Sonics previous to this version, and it really made me think that this kite was for more advanced riders than myself. That being said, once I got the hang of it, the wingtip issue kind of resolved itself and it stopped happening nearly as often. I really began to enjoy my Sonic sessions a lot more after this. Recently I had a couple of unexpected adrenaline rushes when I jumped much higher on the Sonic than I was expecting to. This actually happened on both the 11 and the 15.
It jumps a lot higher. I had my highest jumps probably ever in the wind direction and the wind speed on the Sonic.
The power in the jump, easy soft pull for jumps.
Very good hang time, amazing. I was hanging in the air like so well. I could think what I want to do, so very nice.
Today I was in 15, it's probably my 10th hour with the kite, maybe 5th, 6th session, maybe hour 10. And I've really enjoyed loftiness of it. Very nice and linear.
Beautiful jumps too, very lofty. This guy was awesome.
Very nice, yeah, thanks.
What really makes the Sonic is its performance. The way the kite goes upwind, its jumping ability, and the hang time is out of this world. The rewards that you get with this kite do require a more technical level of skills though. When comparing to the Soul, in our opinion, the biggest difference is the performance. Another difference is the handling.
It's got a beautiful powered feeling. It's a nicer ride than the Soul by far, in the sense that it's smoother even, and I love the same old Flysurfer technology for the even bar pressure. Now it's got a nicer sweet spot than most of the other Sonics, which is a plus. Nice bar pressure, but a sweet spot. That's excellent. I'd say it's the best of all the Sonic race kites so far, the Sonics. This is the best one.
Now that was a very strong claim by Kent, so we decided to go a step further and test Sonic 2 versus Sonic 3 back to back. We took 2 riders who actually own the Sonic 2 and sent them out on a kite session in 0 degrees. Here's what they had to say.
As of a rider for 2.5 years, Sonic 2, I love this kite. I have no problem with it. I know how to launch, hot launch, landing without any kind of problem. As I heard from different kiters, they do have lots of trouble with this kite, but I don't. So today I was comparing this kite, Sonic 2, old version, compared to new one. I tried it multiple times today, and the difference which I noticed. First of all, it has more lift power. I would say compare height 1.5 to 2 meters at least.
Very boosty and gives you a lot of hang time.
Length of the jump, I would say probably the same. Turning speed, yes, it's a little bit faster, but not a lot.
The Sonic 2 likes to go straight. It really enjoys going straight without any turning. This one you can actually turn and it's still gonna pull. That one drops the power. Sonic 2 drops the power and doesn't pull as much. It pivots and then I get nothing.
Another thing which I feel it and saw it with new kite, which I didn't have with the old one, that's collapsing tip. But if you're gonna used to it, it's like become like, it's pretty much when I was riding both of them, this one, then that one, then back this one, then back that one. Once you're gonna get used to it, it's the same as old one, it's just new version. It flies better, it has better hang time in the air, yes, a little bit faster. And it's a new kite.
Comparing to Sonic 2, same size, I think the Sonic 2 has seen its good days. It's not in the same condition, so it's not fair. It's not a fair comparison. That one has maybe 60-70 sessions. This one has 10. Sonic 2 drops me forward quite a bit. I didn't like that. And I didn't get a lot of power out of it. This one pulls. That one didn't. I thought it might be the wind, but I think it's the kite.
Nikita has a good point that you have to take the comparison of a used kite to a new kite with a grain of salt. At the end of the test, both Sasha and Nikita agreed that the new Sonic is a worthy successor, which reinforced Kent's earlier point. Now let's shift our focus to the stability of the kite. Overall, the new Sonic handles gusts as easily as the Soul, and it holds its shape remarkably well. Where the Soul does have an advantage is that it overflies less when you have the kite parked at 12 o'clock. In very gusty conditions, the Sonic tends to overfly more, which gets tricky when you're coming in or out of the water. With regards to the backstall, we compared the Soul and the new Sonic back to back in very light and gusty conditions, and they both had a similar level of backstall as the wind lulled.
Hi guys, I just rode Sonic 3 15 meter. It's very challenging conditions right now. It's 0 degrees and water is about to freeze, about like +2 degrees, and 15 to 20 knots gusting northwest wind. But the kite performed very well, very stable.
This kite has X's in it, so it gives it stability. The X's give it tons of rigidity while it's flying, and you feel it when you send it, you feel it when it's powered.
I tried to even help Guy to do a self-rescue, so I was able to control it with one hand in the gusty conditions.
Rigidity? It seems to be as good as the Soul. I can't believe it, with high aspect.
Some of our crew also tried the kite with a hydrofoil, and here's what they had to say.
Tucks, very good pull up in the air, so I could do tuck and jibe. It was really nice. The kite turns fast, so I didn't have to put it too low, and it goes very well upwind and handles it, so very smooth ride.
You're getting on the water start. You gotta really work the kite and work your body to get out of the hole, where other kites don't need that. But it's better than the Sonic race for getting out of the hole. It just needs a little bit of a loop or a little bit of a push, and you get out of the hole pretty darn quick.
With regards to light wind, during the water start, the Soul seems to be gruntier than the Sonic, but once you're riding and the apparent wind kicks in, the Sonic releases its full potential and you're flying upwind much more than the Soul. It appears to us that an 11-meter Sonic is more powerful than a 12-meter Soul. Nikita seems to agree.
In light wind, I would say it's a little bit more powerful than the Soul, maybe because it's parked at the edge of the window a little further, so you can go upwind a little better.
So, what's the conclusion?
This kite is not for beginners or people who are sort of trying to figure it out. You have to know what you're doing. You gotta know you have to know how to fly the kite.
With that said, the new Sonic is a superb kite with great performance in light to medium winds, with the caveat that it is less forgiving than the Soul. It's also worth noting, if you're coming from the Soul, it does take a little time and practice to get used to.
It seems like every time I try it, I enjoy it more and more.
I really enjoyed this, and I rode all kinds of kites. Sonic 2, I rode Speed 5, all kinds of Flysurfer kites, and I think so far this is one of the best kites on the market because it holds these gusty, very challenging conditions very well.
Alright guys, there you have it, our Flysurfer Sonic review. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Alright, it's time for us to go kite, so we'll see you on the next one. Bye!